No need to bury the lead. These are the games CNET loved the most in 2021. I think I should kick things off by saying, how dare you, games? How dare you be so good this year, with a literal embarrassment of riches across platform and scope. It was really hard to pick our top game of 2021, but that's only because there were so many excellent options. Unexpected gems, indie darlings, major franchise installments. It was all there this year. So here's how we sorted everything out. Our editorial and video team members who cover games submitted their picks. A ranked voting system was deployed, and we all sat on a very long Zoom call to make our cases and sift through the best of the best to choose 3 honorable mentions and a top 10 in no particular order, except for Game of the Year and its runner-up. We thought it would be fun to make everybody record a little something about the games they felt strongest about to pull together a sort of CNET's favorite games of 2021 clip video. So without further ado, let's kick it off with the one game that missed the cutoff for consideration, but absolutely needed to be on the list somewhere: Halo Infinite.
Look, Halo Infinite was supposed to suck. You saw the news, you read all the stuff about the game being delayed, people leaving the project, the team getting new creative directors, and in the back of my mind I'm like, there is no possible way this game can be good or live up to any sort of hype around the Halo franchise. And when you think about Halo as well, the stakes in this one were big. It needed to be good. It needed to be probably the best Halo game in the last decade, and you know what? It is. It is the best Halo game of the last decade. I love Halo Infinite. I love the single player. I love the open world. There's a few flaws here and there. Could have done with a bit different biomes, different landscapes. So I loved Halo Infinite to have a snow area or a beach area, anything just a bit slightly different from what it's kind of just this gigantic forest. But you know what? It just feels good. The grapple hook, bruh. Oh, the grapple hook, man. The grapple hook is a game changer. Every game should have a grapple hook, like Halo Infinite's grapple hook. I'm just all about it. Or is it grapple shot? Sorry, it's called the grapple shot. Every Halo game, every video game should have a grapple shot like Halo Infinite's grapple shot. It is the best thing ever. I love it and I love the game. Play it, please. I'm begging you.
The list isn't just AAA franchise hits, though. Our next honorable mention proves you don't have to go big to get noticed. It's Inscription.
So Inscription is a tough game to talk about. To really enjoy the game at its fullest, you need to go into it without knowing what's in store for you. On the surface, Inscription is a card battle game where you have to build up a deck and outplay your opponent. But you'll quickly realize that something's not quite right, and the game will slowly begin to unveil what it's really about. And I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm not going to say any more about it. Just go play the game with an open mind and you will not regret it. It is easily one of the biggest surprise games I've played all year.
Another well-crafted indie also landed in our final honorable mention slot, and it marks the first of a handful of time loop games on this year's list. I'm talking about Death's Door.
So Death's Door, I just love because it's supremely polished. It's got this sort of top-down Zelda thing where it's like Zelda, kind of has puzzles like Zelda, but it's all about the combat. Everything feels good in this game. The swords feel good, the rolling feels good, the dodging feels good, beating up all the bosses and the bad guys feel good. I just love this game, love everything about this game. Every single frame, every second just feels good and rewarding and just sticky. Like, just a fantastically polished game that was one of my favourite games of the year, if not my favourite game of the year. I love Death's Door. It's just on everything. Fantastic game. Go get it.
Now that our honorable mentions are out of the way, let's dig into the top 10. As mentioned, these are in no particular order except for Game of the Year and the runner-up. Here's my buddy Steph to talk about Unpacking.
Unpacking follows an unnamed protagonist as they move into houses over the course of their life. From organising their childhood bedroom through to finding space in a home with a partner that may not actually have that much room for you, you're tasked with finding homes for all of their prized possessions. It's surprisingly nostalgic after a while because you see which of the possessions this person chooses to hold on to, what's important to them. And it's really interesting to have a bit of an experiment with where you place them, especially because the game has such impressive sound design. So if you're into organization, or even if you're not, I really do think that you're going to get a lot out of Unpacking.
Next up, a game that was tied for my personal game of the year. It was another time loop and a huge leap forward for developer Housemarque. Alessandro, hit him with Returnal.
Returnal makes some fantastic use of the console's tech, particularly with the DualSense controller's haptic feedback and audio capabilities. I found that this allowed me to feel more connected and immersed in the game's chaotic yet still visually stunning world. And getting to explore and fight your way through that world is such a joy on its own. Returnal's handling of both story and shooting gameplay, that really pushes you to sort of uncover more and get better at taking down enemies with each playthrough really made it stand out, and that's why I think it's one of the best games of this year.
Ugh, game's so good. I'm still thinking about it. This next game is part of a fan favorite franchise that's turning 20 next year, in case you wanted to feel old, but it still feels as fresh as ever. Insomniac's dynamic duo returned in a big way this year with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
So when I think about Ratchet & Clank and when I played it, it doesn't feel so much like a game as it feels like I'm kind of living along inside a movie. And that idea has been with us for a bunch of years. But Ratchet & Clank right now, I think does it better than a lot of other games. And it's a fantastic demonstration of where consoles like the PlayStation 5 are going to be going with their graphics, their ability to leap across worlds, the way that the haptics work, the way the audio feels, the way things load quickly. It just feels so incredibly seamless that it makes me want to dive in and play. And I think that is what I think about when I think about where games are heading and how I can kind of leap back and forth into them and play them. I don't know, Ratchet & Clank just feels like a lot of living fun.
Co-op games have taken a little bit of a backseat in gaming lately in favor of big single-player campaigns and online multiplayer, but Hazelight Studios and game director Joseph Fares managed to break away from the pack to land a spot in our top 10 with It Takes Two.
I finally have a reason to own two PS5 controllers. It Takes Two is a co-op action-adventure platformer that often gets compared to a Pixar film, and for good reason. You choose between two characters, Cody or May, a married couple on the brink of divorce when, thanks to some Pinocchio-style magic, they find themselves trapped in the bodies of their daughter's dolls. The two must put aside their differences and work together to solve puzzles and find their way out of their Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves inspired predicament. It Takes Two is best enjoyed with a partner, but stands on its own as a great platformer. It's fun, heartfelt, and accessible to players of all different skill levels, including my wife, who usually only plays Mario Kart 8, but I finally got her to try something new.
Okay, let's all do a complete 180 from Pixar-like whimsical couch co-op to honor a game that featured an extremely tall vampire lady who captured our hearts. She captured our hearts. Of course, I'm talking about Resident Evil Village.
Well, Ethan Winters, there you are. Resident Evil Village is a wonderful tribute to the series on its 25th anniversary. It wraps up the storyline from Resident Evil 7 while bringing in elements from the old games, and it's so satisfying. Its Eastern European location is just dripping with dark personality, and you meet a whole bunch of fascinating characters along the way. Its combat and weapon upgrade systems are really fun, but most importantly, it brings back the attaché case inventory system from Resident Evil 4, which meant I could organize all my stuff really meticulously, and that's what's important in a Resident Evil game. You should absolutely give Resident Evil Village a go.
We need that Dimitrescu prequel game. We just do. Okay, moving on. Get out your popcorn and your Walkman, because this next game gave us an action-adventure experience that turned it up to 11 and kept it cranked the whole way through. MCU? MC who? It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians may seem like an odd choice for me for Game of the Year. It's a big action game, part of the Marvel Disney juggernaut, but the voice acting and the writing are so good, I kept coming back to this game and playing it because I just wanted to see what the characters would say and do next. Now, as a game, it's basically a walking simulator with occasional boss fights, really nothing to write home about, but I love spending time with these characters, hearing all their little quips and everything they're talking about as they move through this fairly detailed world. Even more, I would happily sign a petition to replace the movie Guardians of the Galaxy cast with these guys, because I just like them so much more.
This next game was defined by one single word, and that word is cool. It was a stylish puzzle box that begged to be solved with cunning combat and clever traps. Also, there were glittery dual-wield handguns that transformed into a two-handed rifle. It was amazing. This year, we all learned how much fun we could have stuck in Deathloop.
Deathloop is a hard game to explain. Probably the most pithy way to describe it is as a murder puzzle. It's kind of bewildering, and even 3 months after finishing the game, I find it hard to sum up best what makes it special or even what it is. And for that reason, Deathloop is one of the best games of 2021. It's not perfect, the combat progression could be deeper, and the otherwise gripping story is a bit vague in parts. But it's a big AAA game that takes a lot of risks, and a lot of them pay off. More of that in 2022, please.
3 more games. This next title marked the triumphant return of one of the most beloved heroes in all of video game history, and reminded everyone why it's the franchise that helped spawn an entire genre. This is Metroid Dread.
Metroid Dread is just the perfect version of a Metroid game. And the best part of Metroid for sure, my favourite thing is the dash. Any Metroid puzzly sort of like exploration game with a jump dash, I'm in. You're fighting a boss, you're trying to beat him, you think you're going to die, and oh man, I love Metroid Dread. But the best thing about Metroid Dread is just the vibe, the whole atmosphere. I mean, that is the most important part of any Metroid game, but I feel like Dread have just really invested in making that world feel really dark and just oppressive. The music is fantastic. I don't know, it just feels fantastic. I loved every second of Metroid Dread. Even the stupid Emmy battle things, they were alright.
It's time for our runner-up for Game of the Year. This game was originally built using Skyrim modding tools way back in 2015, but made its official standalone debut this year in 2021. It's so great, it almost ran away with the top prize. Welcome to the Forgotten City.
Forgotten City starts with a really strange premise. You're stuck in a time loop because you have to figure out which person in this ancient Roman city is going to sin. If anybody does, everybody dies. From that odd setup, Forgotten City turns into one of the most charming adventure games I've played in a long time. Seriously, the mystery is wonderful and the writing is so well done, and it allows the game to offer questions about the definitions of morality and sin and our responsibilities to each other. It's just great. If you enjoy good writing in video games, Forgotten City is a must play.
And finally, our Game of the Year, and I'm gonna talk about it. It's Psychonauts 2. The highly anticipated sequel to 2005 Psychonauts checked off all the right boxes. Not only did it capture the spirit of what made the original great, it simultaneously expanded its universe and told a more grown-up story. There's still a lot of whimsical wonder to be found in Psychonauts 2 though, from the wide variety of mind-bending levels to the wacky cast of lovable weirdos and precision platforming challenges. It was really an awesome game from start to finish. For a game about a kid hailing from a family of acrobats, I think it's pretty fitting that Psychonauts 2 managed to stick the landing. I'm getting some interference from Tim Schafer. Better let that guy say a few words.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim Schafer from Double Fine Productions, and on behalf of the whole team here at Double Fine, I want to say thank you to CNET for giving Psychonauts 2 its Game of the Year award. That is a huge honor, and we are very humbled and grateful. I want to thank also all of our backers who helped get Psychonauts 2 started, and everyone at Xbox Game Studios for helping us finish it. And thank you to all of the players who really connected with the game. It's just so important to us that the game mattered to so many of you. So thank you so much for playing, and thanks again for this great award.
And there you have it, CNET's favorite games of 2021. Which game do you think will take the top spot in 2022? Drop that down in the comments and let the fight commence. But also, it's Elden Ring. See you next year. Until next time, be good humans.